Hello everybody, it's me Alexthehunted, and today we're looking at the big one, the Genesis, where it all began, the first time the King of the Monsters rose from the depths. That's right, today we're looking at Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Well, actually no, because that would be the 1956 American cut with Raymond Burr. Actually, today we're looking at Gojira, the original, uncut, undubbed, Japanese original, featuring, well, no American influence whatsoever. So, oh wait, sorry, hang on. No, I'm not doing this whole review in black and white. So let's take a look at one of the big keystones of movies, which I really worry about telling jokes about how beloved this movie is. So anyway, let's take a look at Gojira. And yes, I'll be calling him Godzilla throughout the entire movie because, you know, it's just easier to pronounce. So our movie begins with the Touhou Logo and thunderous footsteps that sound like bombs exploding. This is the first sign that Godzilla was made to be an allegory for the nuclear bomb being dropped less than a decade after this movie was made. It really shows off the difference between America and Japan, where the Americans used the atomic bomb to create monsters to show the power of the atomic bomb, whereas Japan used the atomic bomb to show the death and destruction and horror of the atomic bomb. We then, for the first time, hear Godzilla's roar and the opening titles scroll up to the Godzilla theme. We then open up on a fishing boat, relaxing and having a good time, safe in the knowledge that there is no such thing as giant radioactive fire-breathing dinosaurs. And that soon changes as a glowing light comes from the ocean and the boat is quickly destroyed and sank. But not before the crew manage to send out an SOS before the whole entire crew go down with the boat. This sort of mirrors the events of the hydrogen bomb and the story of the Lucky Dragon 5 fishing boat. They thought they could fish in a safe zone of where the bomb was being tested. However, the bomb explosion was so much bigger than predicted then that the safe zone wasn't really a safe zone anymore. So much so that all 23 crew members were completely doused and flooded with radiation. So much so that by 1956 all 23 crew members had died of radiation poisoning. Back with the movie, we meet our two main characters, Hideo Ogata and Emiko Yamaha, as they head out to find out what happened to the ship. As we then find out that the military have sent out a rescue ship to look for survivors, and then they soon find out that that ship has also been sank and the entire crew has gone down with it. As families of the ship victims go to the Japanese embassy to beg to find out what happened and beg for answers, we cut to another fishing boat where they find 3 survivors of the sank military ship, and they manage to send a message back to the military about the survivors of the fishing boat, but then soon the fishing boat that sent the message is also sank, just off the coast of Oto Island. Really, it hasn't been a good day for the Japanese shipping industry. We head to Oto Island where we see that the locals are looking out to sea, wondering what the hell is going on, where one of the lookouts spots something coming in the water, and it is a sole survivor of their biggest fishing ship, barely conscious, and states that something has got them. Later, when all the small fishing boats come back, they claim that they have caught nothing. Well, a logical explanation could be is that they're fishing in an area that's been overfished, so there's just very little fish there to begin with. But no, they all listen to the crazy old man that goes straight to the thing that it's the legend of Godzilla that's causing this.
ゴジラかもしんねえ。
またじいさまのゴジラか。今時そんなものいるもんかよ。
おい、昔からの言い伝えばかにすると。
We should build a giant wall around the ocean to stop Godzilla's coming in and stealing our fish, and we'll make Godzilla pay for it. I mean, yes, this crazy old man is very, very right, but this is the first ever Godzilla incident in the entire Godzilla canon. So it's kind of funny that at the first sight that fishing is going bad, he goes right to, oh, it's Godzilla, that's what's causing this situation, it's gotta be Godzilla. There couldn't be any other explanation for it. I mean, you have to wonder if this guy just blames Godzilla and other things. Whew, wow, it's really hot today, I wonder why. Oh my god, who blocked the toilet?
ありゴジラかもしんね
Why the hell is my Amazon package so late? Where the hell is it going to get here?
えありゴジラかもしんね
Also, the crazy old guy says that they should sacrifice a girl to please the legend of Godzilla. Yeah, no joke, he actually says that.
え今におめえたち山っ子をゴジラの餌食にしなきゃなんねえぞ
Wow. No. Also, you're thinking of the wrong giant monster. You're looking for a giant ape. So the village performs a ritual to please the god, Zilla. Minus the girl sacrificing, however. However, a storm comes in bringing in some thunder. Well, at first what we think is thunder. It soon becomes clear that that's not thunder, that's some footsteps, and it's getting closer and closer. And soon, most of Odo Island is just trampled on. The surviving fisherman knows what's coming, and again, similar to the atomic bomb and its power, the fisherman and his wife are both killed when the house is crushed. It's to say, like the atomic bomb, no matter how far you run, no matter how fast you go, Godzilla will always get you. The survivors of the Odo Island incident go to the Japanese parliament to tell them what they saw, claiming that it was a giant monster and storms don't crush buildings like that. We then meet Dr. Yamaha, who says that they're going to take an expedition to Odo Island to examine the destruction and see if it really was a monster. It's good to see, unlike most monster movies, that the Parliament just doesn't just brush them off as all crazy people, but again, they don't just believe them straight away, so they basically take this information with a grain of salt. So the expedition heads to Odo Island, with Amiko and Edigo going with the Doctor. Amiko is the Doctor's daughter and is also betrothed to this guy that you see on the docks, rocking the sunglasses and eye patch. Yes, he may look like a Bond villain, but he's actually one of the good guys. He's called Dr. Shirazawa, and he doesn't do much in the first part of this movie, but he is one of the most important characters in the Godzilla canon. So on Odo Island, the gang look around the destruction, and they find there's a lot of radiation around the destruction. Again, much like the atomic bomb, even when Godzilla has destroyed everything, he never truly leaves. He leaves destruction in radiation behind him. And being that this is the 50s and they didn't really know how deadly radiation was, the Doctor sticks his hand right into some radioactive water to find a trilobite. Which is amazing because trilobites have been extinct for over millions of years. But before they can have more fun in the radioactive playground, the alarm is rang and people are alerted that Godzilla is coming. They all run to the hill with their cameras to see if the beast is real. And here we see, for the first ever time, our first look at the king of the monsters. Yes, it's clearly a puppet, but there's no denying that this is one of the best reveals in all of movies. The build-up is amazing, and the fact that there is no music, only the sounds of people in absolute screaming terror and Godzilla's roar, has got to be one of those iconic movie scenes that everyone knows. So Godzilla, I just think, decides to scare the Japanese people and leaves them, not really doing anything. So the Doctor heads back to the Japanese government to show them the pictures of Godzilla and explain his origins. Basically, Godzilla is a dinosaur who lived in the deeps of the water of the South Pacific, where the H-bomb was tested. The test made it so that Godzilla couldn't live in that area anymore, and also mutated him, so basically now Godzilla's just looking for new territory and has set its sights on Japan. The government discussed what they should do and if they should just come right out and tell the world that there's a Godzilla around, and that he was a result of the H-bomb test. But that could strain already bad relationships with the rest of the world, considering that this is only basically 9 years after World War II ended. However, if they don't tell anyone about Godzilla, they could cause casualties in the hundreds of thousands. What makes this movie so good is that all these characters are written as real people. There's no evil politician, there's no mad scientist trying to rule the world. These are all three-dimensional characters with their own arcs. And it makes this movie seem more real, much more than this current dark and gritty trend that most movies go for, which they think makes the movie look real. So the Japanese set sail with a fleet of stock footage to try and kill Godzilla with depth charges, which they guarantee will work. So most of our main heroes watch the attacks of Godzilla on the news, but the Doctor has a hard time watching it because, well, he's a scientist. He wants Godzilla to be left alive. But they don't treat him like, oh, he's just some crazy scientist who is more interested in science than human life. No, he understands that Godzilla can cause so much death and destruction that he has to be stopped. But he's also distraught because of how much they could actually learn from this creature being alive. I mean, having a live prehistoric creature alive nowadays is just an invaluable find.
お父様
Oh God, turn off the lights, my eyes were adjusted to the darkness. Anyway, back in the Japanese sea, a party cruise boat is busy having fun, which is suddenly stopped when Godzilla appears. This isn't good news for the Japanese parliament because not only did their attacks on Godzilla fail, but they didn't even scratch him. It's also affecting all of Japan because now shipping companies dare not send out their ships because it's just not safe and they can't get food and resources in, so now there's basically a shortage. I really do like this touch because if Godzilla was real, this would absolutely happen. There is no way shipping companies would send out their ships to the open sea. They would basically just be sitting ducks for a Godzilla attack. So Parliament basically begs the Doctor for any way that they could kill Godzilla, but the Doctor points out that the H-bomb failed to kill Godzilla, so what in God's name could they even do? So a news reporter is given the job of interviewing Dr. Shirazawa because he is the Dr. Yamaha's daughter's Amiko's fiancé. However, the very next scene we find out that Amiko is technically not having an affair with Hidito, but they are lovers. This was 1950s Japan. Children being betrothed and forced into marrying was still a very common thing. It's the only real thing that dates this movie. What really humanizes these characters is that Amiko and Hidito feel ashamed and really bad for Dr. Shirazawa because she loves him, but just not in that way. They both still love him, but as family, so it's not really like they're going, fuck Shirazawa, we'll break his heart, mwahahaha. They're keeping their affair a secret, not just to keep themselves, but also to keep Shirazawa safe too. Anyway, at the interview, the reporter asked Shirazawa about rumours that he has developed a weapon that could possibly kill Godzilla, but the Doctor just brushes it off as nonsense. However, after the reporter leaves, Shirazawa admits to Amiko that he does have such a weapon. And he goes to his underground secret lab. Yeah, he may not be an evil mad scientist, but he has really got all the hallmarks of one. Anyway, in his lab he shows her the weapon, something so terrifying, so horrifying that she can't even watch. Just horrible. So after seeing the worst thing she could have ever seen, Shirazawa makes Amiko promise that she will never tell anyone of what she saw. Now this isn't because he's going to destroy the planet with this weapon and James Bond has to come in and stop her. No, it's because if anyone found out about this weapon and word spread to the government, not only would they want to use it on Godzilla, but the weapon could be made by other superpowers, and this country has already dealt with a weapon of mass destruction. So if a government had a weapon that was even worse than a nuclear bomb, which is basically what Godzilla is, then no one should have that kind of power. So anyway, that night the family are enjoying a meal when those footsteps start being heard and Godzilla appears. And the military put up little defense. Godzilla just actually walks past them, just brushing them off, and into the city, and an unlucky train basically gets in his way and becomes Godzilla's chew toy. This movie does a good job of showing not only just the buildings and trains that Godzilla is attacking, but the people that are inside of them that didn't have time to evacuate. So we see all these people Godzilla is basically crushing beneath him and killing. So after the king destroys a bridge that was full of people running for their lives, he heads back into the ocean. So after that, the Japanese decide to cut the crap and take everything they have to attack Godzilla and basically build a gigantic electric fence around Tokyo Bay in hopes of keeping him out. So with Godzilla on his way and the country on the edge of their seat about what's about to happen, that night Hideko chooses this moment of all moments to tell Dr. Yamaha that he is basically screwing his daughter. It's like he's going, well, if we're all about to die, I might as well just get out there and tell all our secrets. So, Doctor, I have something to tell you. Me and Emiko are in love and wish to marry. Also, when I said that the dog ate your sandwich, it was actually me. Also, I'm going to invent a style of animation called anime, which is going to start off great, but will just end up being a lot of perverted cartoons involving octopuses. So Godzilla emerges from the sea and the military get ready to fire everything they have at him. And the electric fence with a current of 50,000 volts going through it doesn't even seem to faze Godzilla. He just walks right through it. Again, it just shows Godzilla's similarity to the atomic bomb. It just shows no matter what defenses you have, no matter what weapons you can put up, nothing can stop it. Also, it may be a cliche now of the military getting their asses handed to them by Godzilla, but actually there was a good point to this. You see, the Japanese after the war had very strict laws put on them on what films they could make and their film-making practices. In fact, they couldn't show the Japanese military basically winning unless it was military history. So they got around it in this film by showing the Japanese military in action, being all heroic and that, but they are losing. Badly. So Godzilla rampages around Tokyo and the military can do nothing. He destroys everything in his path. We even get the first time Godzilla uses his atomic breath, and it's basically a fire extinguisher coming out of a puppet. But still, he turns the city into a giant inferno, and they don't hold back when they show buildings blowing up. And they show people dying. Even children. I mean, wow. I mean, when you think of where this franchise will end up going, do you ever think you'd see something like this in a Godzilla film? Would you ever see this in something like, I don't know, Godzilla vs. Hedorah? And for all of you people who are saying that the Godzilla 2014 film wasn't cheesy and fun enough, that's because the 2014 film was trying to aim for what this film did by showing just the death and destruction that a giant monster like Godzilla can cause. And they even limit Godzilla's appearance. I mean, Godzilla in this film only appears in 4 scenes in the entire movie. And they're all amazing. Anyway, Godzilla rampages on and the military are given new orders. Basically, give up on attacking Godzilla and let him just do his thing and just work on finding survivors and putting out the fires. And that's the last orders given to them before Godzilla destroys the military base. We then see reporters atop a radio tower commentating on Godzilla's rampage, which is noble and all, but soon they are the largest thing left in Tokyo and they have photographers flashing lights at a giant fire-breathing dinosaur. So of course it gets Godzilla's attention and he attacks the tower, biting into it and causing the reporters to fall to their deaths. With Tokyo ablaze, Godzilla returns to the sea as the military jets show up. And well, miss a lot. Like, they have fireworks on strings. I mean, yes, they just fly right past Godzilla, something that huge, and they don't hit him once. Basically all amounts to is their missiles just kind of blow up any part of Tokyo that Godzilla missed. So the next day we get a really depressing scene of the aftermath of Tokyo just leveled. And we see all the casualties, even children looking at their dead mothers. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is hard to watch, and just levels of depressing. This all gets too much for Emiko, who cracks and just has to tell Hideko about what she saw in Dr. Shirazawa's lab of Not Evil. We flash back to Emiko being shown what turns out to be a compound which destroys all the oxygen in the water, a oxygen destroyer if you will. Hideko rushes to the doctor to demand that he makes a weapon to kill Godzilla. Once Shirazawa is told, he immediately goes to his lab to destroy everything about the weapon. Hideko tries to stop him, causing a fight, which oddly the doctor wins. Yeah, usually the nerdy scientist doesn't win a fight, but oh well, there we go. Anyway, he finally gives in and agrees to make a weapon after he watches a TV screen just showing all the death and destruction to this depressing as hell song, sung by this giant girl choir. But before he goes and tells the government about the weapon, he burns all of his notes about the oxygen destroyer, so that only he has the knowledge to make an oxygen destroyer. And he will be the only one to make it, and it will be only used this one time. So the government jump right on board the whole "we have a weapon to kill Godzilla," like right away. It kind of just shows how desperate they are. Hey, I have this weapon that I totally think will kill Godzilla. Really? That's great, let's make it now! But you don't even know what it is. Don't care, if it can kill Godzilla, we want it made. But what if it backfires and makes things even worse? What? Like, making this weapon and using it will create some giant, even bigger monster that looks like Satan. Okay, let's ignore that because that won't happen for 40 years, and let's get to work. So they find Godzilla napping under the sea, and Hideko and the doctor volunteer to dive, but the doctor insists that it has to be him who activates the weapon. As they all get ready to dive, the oxygen destroyer is revealed and given to the doctor, who admires the weapon, thinking and also saying that he hoped he would never have to see it or use it.
いいか、二人ともくれぐれも気をつけてな。
You're going deep under the ocean in a form of diving that is incredibly dangerous to deliver a weapon of mass destruction that has not been tested to this scale to a giant fire-breathing dinosaur. But you know, don't take risks. So as they dive under the ocean, they see Godzilla resting and they start their approach. This scene isn't like most monster killing scenes where it's all triumphant and heroic with big scenes of music playing out. It plays out more like this is a necessary evil to defeat another kind of evil, which is very much what the atomic bomb was. So Shirazawa activates Hideko's resurfacing device, sending him up, as he calls out for Shirazawa. And as soon as he gets to the surface, Shirazawa activates the oxygen destroyer, just as Godzilla is approaching him. The weapon worked perfectly, and Godzilla makes his way to the surface to try and survive the weapon. So now that the weapon has been used, there is only one thing left for Shirazawa to do. He is the only person who knows about the oxygen destroyer and how to make it, so he cuts his line, dying with Godzilla and the weapon that he created. Godzilla falls to the bottom of the sea, and much like the fish in the experiment, his skin dissolves to the bone, and then his skeleton itself vanishes. Or does it? Because this Godzilla may be dead, but this is not the last we'll ever see of this Godzilla in the franchise. And with that, Hideko and Emiko both mourning the loss of Tsuzawa, Dr. Yamaha warns that there may be more Godzillas out there, and it just takes another weapon like the atomic bomb or the oxygen destroyer to create another Godzilla. And with that, that ends the very first Godzilla movie. And that was Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Well, Gojira. And I have to admit, even though Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack will always be my favourite Godzilla movie, this is by far the best movie out of the Godzilla films. I mean, just everything about it is amazing. The acting is just so serious and just taken so seriously. It's so deadpan. There's no jokes, there's no comedy, there's no goofy side character, there's no mad scientist or anything. These are real people, and they're just acted so well. Also the effects might be dated, but the scenes of Godzilla just destroying Tokyo still are really impressive. I mean, yes, it is just that joke of a giant man in a rubber suit destroying cardboard boxes, but it's done very well in this movie. And you know, the symbolicness of Godzilla really does kind of reign true still today, and I think we need more movies like this that symbolize just not the strength of the atomic bomb, more the horror of it. So I would recommend anyone to watch this movie, first to see where Godzilla started, but also just to see an actual really good movie. A very good nuclear disarmament movie, just to show like how deadly the atomic bomb and atomic power can really be. And with that seriousness out of the way, it's time to go back to the wheel, and I will see you guys next time when we review the other Touhou King Kong movie. Well, we've gone straight from seriousness, but see you next time for some weirdness. A lot of weirdness. Like, a gigantic amount of strange, weird things that will be happening. I will see you then.